I've had this idea, a couple of these, so I painted that. We'll see what happens. Here is the tree. I'm a little puzzled. I hate it. Hello, so I want to do something a little bit different this week. I am still taking a bit of a break from crochet just because my wrist needs a bit more of a break. But I have had this idea for quite a while. Instead of crocheting, I want to try and sculpt again with some clay. Now, I have really wanted to make my own like DnD dice tower for such a long time. So I am gonna try and do that this week. I have been saving a couple of these like big cardboard tubes that I had from some yarn that I used last year. It was for my Pride top, I believe. So since I have a bunch of these, they are kind of the perfect shape for a tower. So that is the plan. I have been between a couple design ideas. I've been between doing like a tower or a tree. I'm leaning a bit more towards the tree design though, just because I typically play a druid, and so having a tree dice tower is just fitting for the type of characters that I play. So, and plus I have this dice box which has a dice tray and it has like a carved tree in the front of it. I don't remember who made this, unfortunately, because I got it at a con a couple years ago, so I do not remember the people that made it, but I really love having this. And what's nice is the top pops off and it's a dice tray. And I've always thought it'd be fun to make a dice tower that would roll straight into this, because I really like this as a tray, but having a tower to roll into would be really fun. So yeah, that is kind of the overall plan. I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna execute this just because I haven't really done anything like this before, but I'm gonna try my best. So with that, I actually started this yesterday, so I will show some of the process of that. But basically, I'm just gonna be cutting out some cardboard, like thicker cardboard pieces with supports, and then I would hot glue this, but I don't have the proper size hot glue sticks for the hot glue gun that I have. But I have duct tape, so I'm gonna duct tape it. Is this the best idea? That I don't know, but at least duct tape is a stronger tape than other tape, so I'm hoping that it holds up over time, but we shall see. And I'm also using a like thicker type of cardboard that doesn't want to bend, so that way it has more structural integrity. So, and all of the cardboard I am reusing from like packaging or like backing cardboard from prints that I got several years ago. So yeah, that's the gist of it. I will cut to the working on it yesterday, and then I will come back and talk about where I'm at. So I cut out a few circles and then a few angled support platforms as well. I cut the circles in half so that I would have 2 platforms each, and then taped the angled supports to the platform. That way they would have a slight slope and would have enough space for the dice. I then started taping the platform to the cardboard cylinder. I struggled a bit with taping the support into place just because of how close to the top it was, and then just trying to get the tape in those tiny corners was quite difficult, but I did eventually get there. I then also measured out where I wanted the opening for the dice rolls to be. For this, I used the top that I had cut out the day before as a bit of a template. For the top, it was just a circle that I cut out a smaller circle of, but then I used that same smaller circle as a like template for the shape of the doorway because I wanted them to have the same circular shape. So now we're back to the present time for me. Basically, this is where I'm at right now. I decided last night to paint the inside just so that I didn't have to work my way in there with a smaller brush. So I painted that. Now what I need to do, I need to put the top on. So I'll just be taping that down. And then it's time to start sculpting, which is a little scary. Essentially, I need to make a little bit of a base on the bottom of this so that it can sit on the edge of my rolling tray. So it only needs to be like this thick, I think. So not super thick, but thick enough. And I think that that'll work because I need to make a root system for the tree. So, and then I'll just be building up with clay to make the branches and stuff. So that's the plan today. I'll just be sculpting. I'm not sure how long the clay will take to dry, so we'll see when I'm able to get back to this. I should probably stop dilly-dallying and I should get to sculpting. So back to my desk I go, and I will try to sculpt a tree. So, which I've only done one other time. So this might be interesting, but we'll see what happens. So I started off by taping down the top so that I could get to the sculpting. I used a lot of tape because I wanted to make sure that it was super secure on there before I started the sculpting process. But then, like I said, it was time to start sculpting. So I had laid out a bit of saran wrap so that the clay wouldn't stick to my desk. This is not an ideal situation. I would prefer to have like a silicone mat, but I just don't have one, so this is what I used. But if I do more clay projects in the future, I definitely want a more sustainable option like a silicone mat. So also this clay was way more wet than I remembered it being, so it was a little bit gross at first, but I powered through that first little bit and just started working the clay up so that it would be more malleable. And I started rolling out thinner pieces so that I could start adding it to the tower. Now, if it wasn't obvious yet, I chose the tree design because I felt like it would be more fun, and added bonus is that the clay doesn't have to look perfectly flat because trees are imperfect. So I started ripping off pieces of the clay and layering it on top of the cardboard, and then once I had worked up enough of the clay around the exterior, I started building up the bottom platform to make the roots. To make the bottom platform, I rolled out a thicker piece of clay and cut it so that it would be a partial circle, and then attach the clay to the main tree tower. Then for the roots, I rolled out a cylinder of clay, flattened it a bit on both of the ends, and then reshaped one of the ends so that it would have a bit more of a point, and scored the other end so that I would be able to attach it to the main tower. I did scoring on both sides, both on the tower and the root, and then used a bit of water so there would be some slips so that they would attach together seamlessly. I did the same process for the upper branches, and eventually it started really looking like a tree. So it is a new day. It's actually several days later. I did all the sculpting last week and let it dry for 5 days, I want to say. I'm not sure how good I was at filming the process of sculpting the tree, so hopefully I had enough clips of that. I won't find out though until I'm editing. But here is the tree right now. It is finally all dry, which is great. I've done a couple test rolls as well with it, and it seems to be working relatively well. My largest D20 though gets kind of stuck, but not all the time, so it should be fine. I'm fine with re-rolling if I have to. I'll talk about this in the end, but there are definitely some things that I've been thinking about and ways that I can improve upon this. But for now, with this, I need to paint it. I don't want it to be stark white. I want to paint the bottom just because the bottom isn't the cutest. But yeah, that's kind of it. That's the goal. I want to get some painting done today. And then I'm not sure if I'm going to be adding anything else on top of this. I had a couple friends mention putting moss and mushrooms on it, which could be very cute, but I'm not sure how I want to go about that. So at least for now, I want to get a base paint coat on, and then once it's painted, I want to see how I like it and if I feel like I want to add any more little additions to it. So first step, I'm going to do a base coat of a darker color, and then I'll go in with a medium tone, and then after that I'll do a dry brush light tone on it, just so that it picks up all the texture that I carved into it, because I did carve some wood texture in, which I'm not positive you can see in the white, but you should be able to see it better once I paint this, the more dark tree brown color. So that's that. I'm gonna get to painting, and then we'll see what I want to do from there. So off to painting I go. So like I said, I started off with a darker base coat. That way there would be some dark shadows on the tree, and it would fully sink into all the little cracks and crevices. I then went in with a medium tone and dried off the brush a little bit, just so that it wouldn't cover up all of those darker shadows that I just created with the undercoat. Then after that was finished, I lightly brushed on some highlights to really make the tree texture stand out. I'm sure that you're probably expecting this to be a reveal clip of oh, hey, look, it's done. And I mean, for one, I have a feeling, I haven't gone back through the footage yet, but I feel like I have been terrible at going through the process of this, so I do apologize for that. I can try my best to do a bit more explaining. So I did a really nice paint job on this. I was so happy with it, and I decided that I wanted to seal the paint in because I'm going to be using this so much with my dice, so I didn't want the paint to chip off, but that was a mistake. Let me grab it, let me show you. So I'm sure it doesn't look bad on camera, because now that I'm seeing it on camera, it doesn't look that bad, but it's shiny, and in person it's incredibly shiny. I'm a little puzzled because I used a matte varnish, and anytime I have used matte varnish on other paintings and stuff, it's never turned out shiny. So I'm not sure why this is so glossy, but it literally took my paint job from looking like a tree to looking like plastic, and I hate it. So I am unfortunately gonna have to paint this again, which I don't love. I'm thinking I'm gonna tweak the colors a little bit, make it a little bit lighter, because it did turn out darker than I was expecting it to, but I'm just gonna have to go through the process all over again, which I don't love. I'm not sure how much is really gonna sink in that it has a varnish on top, so that'll be interesting, but I'm gonna figure it out. I'll repaint this, and then hopefully I'll actually be able to show you the final result. Today, maybe? I really want to finish this video, so fingers crossed I can get this done today. But we're kind of back at square one when it comes to painting, so I'm not going to add any other elements on top of this. I kind of like it looking just like an older tree, so I don't want to add any like moss or anything on top. I just want to keep it as is. So, but I might add those in the future. Who knows? Now I need to stop procrastinating and I need to go paint. So I'm gonna go do that. And I'll check in hopefully later today, like I said, with the finished result. So I restarted the painting process. Thankfully, it was sticking to the tree. It was a little harder to see where I was painting just because it had already been painted once, but it was sticking, which was good. So I just did the same process all over again, made it a little bit lighter because I didn't like how dark it turned out the first time. And finally, I have a finished tree dice tower. Alrighty, so it is now done. The paint has finished drying, so here is the dice tower all finished. I took some close-up shots of the tower just because I imagine the lighting is not doing this any amount of justice. And I took a couple shots also of me rolling, so I'll include those off to the side. But I am just so happy with how this turned out. I think it turned out really, really cool. I will note that since this was my first time making this, my larger dice do get a little bit stuck in here. So I think if I were to make this in the future, I would rework how I did the little supports on the inside of the tower, just so that it won't get as stuck on those. But all of my smaller dice work perfectly fine. I really only have one D20 that is larger that is having a hard time rolling in this. All the other ones roll perfectly, and it's great. It also slots right into my dice tray, which is really nice as well. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with this. I think it turned out so cool. I'm sad that I had to repaint it, but also happy that repainting it worked. And also, I like the color that it turned out this time. I think I made it a little bit too dark with my first paint job, so I was able to lighten it up a little bit. So I guess kind of a blessing in disguise, I guess. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I'm gonna put it down because I'm getting worried I'm gonna drop it. But yeah, I am happy with how this turned out. I'm excited to use it in my next D&D session. And it was nice to take a break, do something a little different. I haven't done sculpting in a while, so it was fun to get back into that and then continue giving my wrist a bit of a break. So, but yeah, I think with that is everything. So sorry again for doing something a bit more random. I know I typically do crochet, but it was nice to do something different for a week again to give myself a bit of a break. And now I need to get cracking on a couple crochet projects. So it might be a bit before I post crochet, but I will be getting back to it soon. I promise. I'm starting to figure out what is going on with my hand, so I should be able to get back to it very soon. So with that, if there's anything else you want to see from me, just let me know down below. Make sure to like and subscribe and everything, and I will see you all next time. Bye! From some yarn that I'm fine with Wow, that's really hard to say. I washed my hair last night and my bangs turned out so weird. So you're gonna ignore it because I'm gonna have to try my best to ignore it while editing this clip. God, my bangs just dried so weird this time. I don't know why it's like flat. Oh well, this video is maybe a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. It's also my birthday the week that I'm posting this, so everything is kind of busy and crazy. I have a crazy month ahead of me, so I'm hoping I can get everything done that I have planned, but we shall see. So anyway, I'll see you all next time. Bye.